What if the most spectacular celestial event in a decade was, actually a lie? In early 2020, a comet named Atlas was on track to become a generational spectacle, a real beacon in the night sky. But then, it just shattered into pieces and vanished. The official story is that it was just a fragile ball of ice. But honestly, the truth is far weirder. Its disintegration was a clue that points to a much larger mystery involving strange visitors and uncomfortable questions that one Harvard astronomer insists we can no longer ignore. Let's explore this together.
Comet ATLAS mystery.
So, before we get to the terrifying new object, let's talk about the original comet that really put the name Atlas on everyone's lips. Here's why it matters. In late 2019, astronomers discovered Comet C 2019 Y4, also named Atlas. It was on a trajectory to become one of the most brilliant comets in decades, potentially reaching a peak magnitude of -5, which is brighter than the planet Venus. The hype was, definitely real. But as it neared its perihelion of just a quarter of an astronomical unit, about 23 million miles from the Sun, in April 2020, it did something completely unexpected. It crumbled. Astronomer Quanji Ye of the University of Maryland, using the Hubble Space Telescope on April 20th and 23rd, watched as the comet disintegrated into a cloud of over 30 distinct icy fragments. Another study by astronomer Michael Drahus concluded the comet's nucleus was spinning so fast, likely with a rotation period under 24 hours, that centrifugal forces simply tore it apart before it could put on its show. This event was a stark lesson for astronomers. It showed that even seemingly powerful comets can be fragile and unpredictable. The mystery of the original Comet Atlas primed the scientific community for weirdness, but it was nothing compared to the new object that would share its name. The wow signal. Before we saw comets disintegrate, we actually heard a sound we couldn't explain. Think about this. On August 15, 1977, astronomer Jerry R. Amon was using Ohio State University's Big Ear radio telescope when he detected a signal so powerful and so unusual that he circled its alphanumeric code 6EQUJ5 on the printout and wrote, "Wow." The signal lasted for 72 seconds, perfectly matching the time the telescope's beam was aimed at that specific patch of sky, indicating a fixed source. It was an extremely narrow band signal at a frequency of 1420.4556 MHz, just a fraction away from the natural hydrogen line. A frequency many scientists, including Carl Sagan, theorized an advanced civilization would use. The signal was incredibly strong, peaking at over 30 times the background noise of deep space. Despite decades of searching by researchers like Robert Gray, who has conducted multiple follow-up surveys with more advanced equipment, we have never detected it again. Astronomer Antonio Paris later proposed the signal could have come from a comet's hydrogen cloud, but this was widely refuted, since comets just don't emit such strong, narrow-band signals. The wow signal remains the single most compelling piece of evidence for a potential extraterrestrial intelligence. Meet Avi Loeb. When an object as strange and massive as 3I Atlas appears on the scene, you really need a scientist who is not afraid to consider the impossible. Enter Avi Loeb, the former chair of Harvard University's Astronomy Department and the Frank B. Baird Jr. Professor of Science. Loeb is not a fringe theorist. He's honestly one of the most prolific cosmologists of his generation, having authored or co-authored over 800 scientific papers. He became a household name for his bold stance on our first interstellar visitor, Oumuamua, arguing in his 2021 book Extraterrestrial that the most logical explanation for its bizarre behavior was that it was, well, an alien artifact. He has consistently criticized the scientific mainstream for what he calls a failure of imagination. To back up his words, in July 2021, he co-founded the Galileo Project with entrepreneur Frank Lokian. This is a privately funded, systematic search for physical evidence of alien technology, aiming to get high-resolution data on objects like 3I Atlas. With a 7-mile-wide object now in the mix, Loeb's provocative questions have become more urgent than ever. He forces us to ask, are we so afraid of the answer that we refuse to even consider the possibility of an artificial origin?
Oumuamua discovered.
While Comet Atlas was a visitor from our own distant Oort cloud, another visitor came from much farther away, and honestly, broke all the rules. On October 19, 2017, astronomer Robert Warwick, using the Pan-STARRS 1 telescope, spotted something totally unprecedented. An object, designated 1I/2017 U1, and named Oumuamua, which is Hawaiian for a messenger from afar arriving first. Its trajectory was hyperbolic, meaning it was moving at a blistering 26.33 kilometers per second, or nearly 60,000 miles per hour, relative to the Sun, way too fast to be captured by our Sun's gravity. For comparison, our fastest departing spacecraft, Voyager 1, travels at only about 17 kilometers per second. It had already made its closest approach to the Sun on September 9th and was discovered on its way out, about 33 million kilometers from Earth. By January 2018, it had faded beyond the reach of even the Hubble Space Telescope. Its dark reddish color was similar to objects in the outer solar system, but its journey through interstellar space should have changed its surface composition. The discovery of this unique object, the first of its kind, hinted that the galaxy was sending us messages we were only just beginning to see.
Strange behavior.
Here's where the mystery of interstellar objects truly begins, and, honestly, it all started with Oumuamua. First, its light curve was just bizarre. As it tumbled with a rotational period of about 7.3 hours, its brightness changed by a factor of 10. A team, led by astronomer Karen Meach, concluded this meant it had an extreme shape, at least 10 times longer than it was wide, but the real smoking gun was its movement. As it flew away from the Sun, it accelerated. A team led by Marco Micheli, of the European Space Agency, confirmed this tiny but statistically undeniable non-gravitational acceleration of about 5 times 10 to the -6 meters per second squared. Comets do this when heated gas shoots from their surface. But the Spitzer Space Telescope, in an observation campaign led by astronomer David Trilling, stared at Oumuamua and saw absolutely nothing. No gas, no dust, no tail, placing an upper limit on dust production at less than a few milligrams per second. Basically, it was getting a push from an invisible force. This strange behavior is now being seen in a different way with 3I/Atlas. While Oumuamua was strange for moving without a visible tail, 3I/Atlas is strange for not having a tail when its immense size says it absolutely should.
Light sail theory.
When the data doesn't fit the theory, well, you need a new theory. Avi Loeb, along with his colleague Shmuel Bialy, published a paper that sent shockwaves through the astronomy world. They proposed the most straightforward yet most profound explanation. Oumuamua was an artifact of an alien civilization. They argued its acceleration could be explained by solar radiation pressure, sunlight itself pushing it. For this to work, the object would have to be incredibly thin, like a sail, a light sail. This was bolstered by the 2020 discovery of 2020 SO, which turned out to be the 10-meter-long Centaur rocket booster from the 1966 Surveyor 2 mission, a known man-made object showing similar acceleration. While other scientists like Alan Jackson and Steve Desch proposed Oumuamua could be a nitrogen iceberg chipped off a Pluto-like exoplanet, Loeb argues that such an object would have sublimated away over its long interstellar journey. Furthermore, a nitrogen berg would have to originate from a very specific and rare type of exoplanet system, making it a highly improbable explanation. The light sail theory, honestly, remains the only one that elegantly explains all of Oumuamua's anomalies.
Universe age debate.
The arrival of something as seemingly impossible as 3I/Atlas is made more plausible by a simple fact. Our entire understanding of the cosmos is currently being rewritten. For decades, the age of the universe was confidently stated as 13.8 billion years. But the James Webb Space Telescope is now sending back data that challenges this fundamental number. Astronomers like Rohan Naidu, of the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics, have used the JWST to identify, surprisingly, mature and massive galaxies at a redshift of 13. This means we are seeing them as they were just 330 million years after the Big Bang, far too developed to fit our current models. This data, some from the Cosmic Evolution Early Release Science, or CERS, survey, has led some physicists, like Rajendra Gupta of the University of Ottawa, to propose the radical idea that the universe could be as old as 26.7 billion years. This ongoing debate, fueled by JWST's principal investigator for extragalactic deep surveys, Stephen Finkelstein, reveals a crucial truth: our cosmic knowledge is still in its infancy. If our most basic timeline of the universe could be wrong, then our assumptions about what is possible within it are also on shaky ground. NASA Spy Agency. While we look to the stars for answers, there are plenty of mysteries right here on Earth. In 2018, Executive Order 13849 from the Trump administration quietly reclassified some of NASA's functions. So, what's the real story? NASA watch founder Keith Cowing pointed out that the order's primary purpose was likely related to labor laws. However, it's naive to think NASA doesn't have a national security role. They frequently launch satellites for the National Reconnaissance Office, or NRO, the agency whose very existence was classified until 1992. This collaboration dates back to the Cold War, with programs like the Manned Orbiting Laboratory, or MOL, a secret Air Force space station that used NASA-like hardware for surveillance. This blurring of lines creates public skepticism. When the government is known to keep secrets about space technology, it makes it harder for the public to trust official explanations for unusual phenomena like UAPs or strange comets. It fosters a climate where extraordinary claims can feel more plausible than official denials. Interstellar visitors. For centuries we thought our solar system was an isolated island, but we now know it's more like a busy port of call. The discovery of Oumuamua in 2017 was the first confirmation. Then, just 2 years later in 2019, amateur astronomer Gennady Borisov discovered a second interstellar visitor, 2I Borisov. But Borisov was different. It looked and acted exactly like a normal comet, with a visible gas and dust tail and a nucleus estimated to be about 1 kilometer in diameter. This discovery was crucial. It showed that other star systems produce normal comets just like ours, which only made Oumuamua's weirdness stand out even more. Now, with the potential discovery of 3I ATLAS, we are entering a new era. The Vera Rubin Observatory, once fully operational, is predicted by its director, Jelko Ivazic, to find dozens of these interstellar objects every year. Yale astronomer Gregory Laughlin has calculated that trillions of such objects are likely roaming our galaxy. Most will be rocks, but if even a tiny fraction of 1% are probes, our solar system could be getting visitors on a regular basis. We just never had the technology to see them until now. Humanity and war. If we do have cosmic neighbors, what would they think of us? This brings us to a chilling story from March 13, 1975. A pilot named Carlos Antonio de los Santos Montiel, flying a Piper PA-24 Comanche near Mexico City, reported his plane was flanked by 3 UFOs. He claimed to have received a telepathic warning. Humans are one of the only species in the universe that still engages in war. This touches on the Great Filter Hypothesis, popularized by Nick Bostrom, and the Kardashev scale, developed by Soviet astronomer Nikolai Kardashev, which classifies civilizations by energy use. A species that can't move beyond internal conflict, or a Type 0 civilization like ours, would likely never reach Type 1 status. The Doomsday Clock, maintained by the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists since 1947, is a real-world metric of this danger. Perhaps advanced civilizations operate under a non-interference policy with volatile species. This would frame our global conflicts not just as a human problem, but as a potential cosmic barrier preventing our entry into a galactic community. From a 7-mile-wide silent anomaly to the bizarre precedent set by Oumuamua, the evidence is mounting that we are entering a new era of astronomy, one where we must be prepared for anything. The object known as 3I ATLAS represents the greatest question ever asked. Are we alone? Whether it proves to be a natural wonder or something far stranger, its presence in our solar system is a humbling and perhaps terrifying reminder of just how much we have left to learn about our place in the universe. The mystery is just beginning, and the next piece of data could change everything we know about our reality. What do you think 3I ATLAS could be? Let us know your theories in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more explorations into the final frontier. Thanks for watching Stellar Tech.